until about 6:08.
All right, my clock says 6 o'clock, so we'll go ahead and get started with this evening's Planning and Zoning Commission meeting, September 10th. We will start with a roll call, please, Madam Clerk.
Garner. Here. Miller. Here. Daffer.
Here.
Turner.
Here.
Kehoe.
Here.
Morgan. Kirkman.
Here.
Selman. Here. Van Acker Jr.
Here.
8 present, 1 absent.
Thank you. Report on council actions, Rodney.
Thank you, Mr. Chair and Commissioners. We had several public hearings and then one request for an exception to subdivision standards. So the first public hearing was the Glidden Flex annexation and zoning to BC for future commercial complex at 4379 East Franklin Road, and that was approved. However, it was approved for the BC zoning, but it was in an area that's GB1 zoning all around it, and so the city council put a condition on it that it meet the landscaping standards, including a berm along Franklin that is required by the GB1 zone. The next one was Radix de-annexation. This is that one where they had the shop and it was in the city and their property wasn't in the city, and they were redoing the property lines, and you recommended approval for that, and the city council agreed with you, de-annexed the property. We're just waiting on that ordinance to be completed. And then the Gaddis Foothill rezone, this was from IL to BC. This is that one off of Caldwell Boulevard in Middleton. And this is the one for basically a little gym going in where the old Play It Again Sports was. And you recommended that for approval for the rezone to BC, and City Council approved it as recommended. The next one was just an annexation for utilities off of Railroad Street near the Kings Road overpass, and that one was approved as recommended. The last thing is the White Pine Townhomes subdivision. They just requested an exception to some subdivision standards related to the landscaping buffer along Railroad Street, and that one was approved as well. That's it.
Cool. Anything else?
I do just want to report on 2 individuals that we just hired. So Damian Snodgrass is going to be an associate planner for the city. So you may see either him or our other associate planner that we just hired, and that is Terry Friend, who I shouldn't say hired, we promoted her. She has worked for the city and in our department, and we just had a lot of confidence in her. So you may see both of them or one of them in the near future. We're training them up. We did not hire what we were hoping to hire, a senior planner position, but we didn't feel like we got the applicants we needed for that one. So we hired at a little bit lower level, but with anticipation of as they get the experience behind them, then we'll promote them. So you'll see them in the future.
Where's Damien from?
Excuse me?
Where's Damien from?
He's originally from here. He actually lives in an apartment in Meridian, but he grew up here and just working on his Master's of Public Administration.
Okay.
So,
Wasn't very enthusiastic.
So was he at another city or anything, or just new to the industry?
he new to the industry after his schooling, and he had some background in fire plan review and inspection. So that's helpful in that we're going to have him do some plan review for us as well.
Cool. Well, you need the help, so.
Yep.
Yay.
Only other thing I would have is, we scared away our previous attorney, and now we have Ben Lehman here tonight, so.
Seem to do that with.
Another attorney. I think you're an attorney, correct? Okay, good.
It's a rough gig.
All right. We'll go ahead and entertain a motion to adopt the consent agenda unless there's any discussion. Okay.
Second.
A motion by Commissioner Kehoe and a second by Selman to adopt the consent agenda. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? All right, that motion carries. Consent agenda is approved, and that'll take us right into public hearings. We have 4 items on the agenda this evening, and just to go through the order, for those of you it's your first time, if you haven't signed up yet and you'd like to speak on any of the applications, you can do so in the back. We will hear from the applicant first. They'll have 7 minutes to present the presentation this evening, and then we'll have staff present the staff report, which we've all had since last week and have reviewed. Then we'll move into public testimony. If you are signed up, we'll call you in the order that you signed up. Come on up to the podium, state your name and address for the record, and you'll have 3 minutes to provide your testimony, ask your questions, state your concerns, and then if you did not sign up, we'll give everybody the opportunity to speak if you change your mind and you'd like to speak this evening. After that, the applicant will come up for one last time, rebut any concerns, answer any questions, and close, give us any closing remarks. They'll have 5 minutes to do that. And then we'll close the public hearing, deliberate amongst ourselves, ask questions of staff if we have any, and we'll render a decision on each item. So with that, we'll go ahead and get started with the first item on the agenda is a conditional use permit for fuel cells in a GB1 zoning district at 0 Franklin Road, a 2.6 acre parcel for Jackson Food Stores Scott Stamm for the original concept of 1 fuel canopy with 7 multi-product fuel dispensing units, 1 commercial fuel canopy with 4 diesel fuel dispensing units, 4 underground fuel storage tanks, 6 stalls for future EV charging stations, and a 4,606 square foot retail store. This item was continued from the April 9th, 2024 meeting to June 25th. Applicant requested an additional continuation to this evening. So with that, is the applicant here this evening? Yes. All right, come on up. State your name and address for the record, and got 7 minutes.
My name's Nick Wecker. I'm a senior planner with Barghausen Consulting Engineers.
Okay. Up to 7 minutes. You don't have to take the whole 7 if you don't want to.
Okay, sure. And address is 18215 72nd Avenue South in Kent, Washington, 98032.
Thank you.
And so we're here today proposing at the southeast intersection corner of Franklin and Star Road, a currently vacant lot that has a shared access easement that splits with a multi-tenant commercial center just to the east of the site. We're proposing to infill that vacant lot with a proposed 4,600 square foot Jackson's Food Store, be a convenience store with typical convenience type items, prepackaged foods, and then also a 7 dispenser fuel canopy between the building and Franklin Road. We'll have 4 underground storage tanks to support that fueling canopy, and then there'll be also an accessory diesel fueling canopy for commercial vehicles, as well as 4 parking spaces for larger vehicles, 26 parking spaces for regular parking, and then as part of that, we'll be stubbing conduits to additional 6 stalls for future EV electrical vehicle charging units that could be installed as an option in the future for Jackson's. Access, we plan to utilize the existing driveway locations that serve this property currently, which includes at the northeast corner of the site, there's a shared driveway with that multi-tenant commercial center within the development. That driveway would be reutilized without modification. And then also at the southwest corner of the property, there's currently a driveway curb cut installed there as well, and that driveway would be utilized as well. There's an access easement along the south end of the site and east end of the site that would be reutilized with the Jackson's food store and canopy kind of being placed abutting that for access. So we were here previously in November in front for a variance from the perimeter landscape width standards. That was approved. We have a minimum 25-foot landscape buffer that'll be provided along Franklin and Star. It'll increase somewhat within that intersection corner, but it's a minimum of 25 feet per plans presented at that time of that variance approval. No changes from the variance plans that were provided. And the landscaping that will be provided will meet, in terms of plantings, will meet current development standards. And I'm happy to answer any questions or come back up to answer questions and from the public as well.
Okay. Any questions for the applicant now? All right, thank you.
All right, thank you.
Call you back up. Staff report, Christy, and was the timer working up there? Do you know? Did you see a timer up there? Okay, mine's not working here. I didn't have one, so. Okay. Okay, thanks. Christy, you're on.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Chairman and Commissioners. My name is Christy Watkins. I'm the Principal Planner for the City of Nampa. As stated, the request before you this evening is for a conditional use permit for a fuel station at the southeast corner of Franklin Road and Star Road. The comprehensive plan has designated this area as commercial. The current zoning is GB1. The surrounding land uses and zoning to the north is in the county. It is the cheese factory, Lactalis. To the south is GB1, which is future flex space that is currently under development. To the east is GB1. It is Radix Construction, which is a building that has been there for some time. And to the west is also GB1, and it is Amazon. There are public utilities and services available to this property. So a little bit of history on this. This property was annexed and zoned to GB1 in 2008. Does have a development agreement on it that just basically describes this corner as a commercial corner and lists out some uses that were agreed to with the cheese factory previously as far as what would be allowed and what wouldn't, fuel stations being one of those with a conditional use permit. In August of 2012, a development agreement modification was done just to kind of adjust the schedule of land uses, and that was approved. May 2021 pre-application meeting, July 2023 there was another pre-application meeting. November of 2023 their variance for their frontage landscaping was approved, and the reason for that request was because Franklin Road has been widened based on the extension over to the new Highway 16, and so it cut into the frontage that was originally planned for that parcel, and so it just kind of narrowed the space down to a point where it kind of made it not very functional for them. January of 2024, they got design review approved for their building by staff. The reason that this is kind of coming at the end of all of these other things, they wanted to make sure that these other items were going to be taken care of first. Design review can be done at any point during the process. The conditional use permit did have a condition on it for access, and they've been working with the property to the south on that access. That's the reason for the continuation requests as well. So these are the applicable regulations for the reasoning behind having a fuel station requiring a conditional use permit is because of the hazardous material and letting people know that there's specific setbacks and that kind of thing for those types of uses. So under correspondence with the building department, they standard commercial building codes from Title IV. The engineering department had comments relating to access, their traffic impact study, capital projects, those kinds of things. The fire department stated that this development is located approximately 2.6 miles from Nampa Fire Station number 5 with an approximate response time of 6 minutes. And Valley Regional Transit has requested that a bus stop, concrete pad bus stop, would be installed here to provide ADA compliant boarding areas in the future. For staff analysis, according to the comprehensive plan, future land use map matches for the commercial use. The surrounding land uses are primarily industrial and commercial. Amazon to the west and Lactalis to the north are two of the defining uses in the vicinity, with additional warehouse structures constructed on the corner to the northwest. In the development agreement, it contains several elements that were approved to maintain the character of this strip of parcels in the GB1 zone. The agreement includes conceptual site plans and elevations, monument sign regulations, schedules of land uses, several conditions that will apply to future development and this development. There are two areas of concern regarding the proposed use on the development agreement. Condition number 5G and condition number 9 in the ordinance. 5G is specific to parking and condition 9 is specific to signage. As shown in the proposed site plan, these conditions are not met, but it really is a conceptual plan that just designates this as a commercial corner. So it isn't necessary for them to meet it verbatim, as long as it meets it conceptually. So that's up to you to determine. The applicant has submitted a traffic impact study, which has been reviewed by the engineering division and indicates that the Star and Franklin intersection and all site accesses will meet the operational level of service standards, but they are still working through the access point to the south. So here's just an example of the design review elevations that were approved. This is an example of the site plan that includes the landscaping with the variance that was approved. This is the conceptual site plan that was in the development agreement. As you can see, it's a commercial corner. Doesn't say specifically that it has to be one building or 6 buildings. I think that there's some leverage there. And then this is the proposed retail elevation. So this is actually what is built for the Radix building to the east. And I think going back to the design review elevations, that you could say that they technically meet with the jogs and offsets in the building elevation. This is the sign that was proposed conceptually for that corner. These are the conditions that were pulled out of the development agreement that could be of concern if you chose to go that direction. These are the conditions of approval. And we did change one. I just want to make sure that everybody knows where it says Star Road site access shall be restricted to right in, right out, with a median curb to be installed by the project unless specific approval for other mitigations is accepted by the city engineer. And that just means that we're still waiting for that conversation with that property to the south. And they will get that worked out before they construct. And then, let's see. These are the findings for approval. Staff has found that the 5 findings for a conditional use permit are met. And these are your potential motions. I will stand for any questions.
Do you have any questions for staff? Christy?
Yeah, quick one for more out of curiosity. The Valley Regional Transit, so they're requesting a standard bus stop with just a concrete pad, that's it. They're not, the applicant won't be responsible for putting in the benches or whatever that might be. Is that Valley Regional's responsibility?
Chairman Kirkman, that's correct. Just the pad that's large enough for ADA access, and then if in fact they are able to put a route in there, they would come in and install the furniture.
So I guess my question would be then, if that's the case, why wouldn't Valley Regional be responsible for pouring the pad?
I think really what they're asking for is the space to do it. Just knowing going forward that there needs to be space enough to accommodate that.
Thanks, that's all I have.
Any other questions? All right, thanks. We'll move on to public testimony. Madam Clerk, is there a sign-up sheet this evening?
Mr. Chair, we do not have anyone pre-signed up on
Okay.
this item.
Is there anybody here this evening that would like to speak for, against, or undecided on this application? All right, do we have any questions for the applicant, or would you like to come back up and provide any closing remarks, or? Okay,
Are you okay with pouring a concrete pad for Valley Regional Transit?
We had, at our variance hearing, that idea was shot down. I don't recall why it was. We'd want to be able to discuss where the bus stop is contemplated, because I don't know that we've had the full details on that. I don't know that, you know, at the end of the day, if we have to pour a small concrete pad for a bus stop, if it ends there, then it's not a deal killer. But I think there's further conversations needed with transit and city planning department to determine
That
where
could
that would
possibly
be.
be in, as part of the, if this is approved, that would possibly be part of the conditions.
It could be made a condition. It's not currently proposed as a condition in the staff report.
okay. Any other questions? I think we're good, unless you have any other.
No, we,
Concerns,
yeah, we
comments?
agree with the staff analysis and the conditions of approval as written, and thank you for your consideration.
All right, thank you.
Make a motion, we close the public hearing.
Second?
We have a motion by Commissioner Gardner and a second by Kirkman to close the public hearing. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? All right, public hearing is closed.
Mr. Chair, if there's no any further discussion, then I would move that we approve the conditional use permit for fuel sales in a GB1 zoning district at 0 Franklin Road for Jackson Food Stores, Scott Storm, with recommended conditions of approval and the proposed findings in the staff report.
Second.
All right, we have a motion by Commissioner Gardner and a second by Kehoe to approve the conditional use permit. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, that motion carries. And to read you my little approval notice, the CUP will become effective 15 calendar days from the date of this hearing unless an appeal has been filed with the Planning and Zoning Department with the appropriate fee. No action should be taken on the CUP until the appeal period has concluded, and the applicant must confirm with the Planning and Zoning staff there have been no appeals. All right, thank you very much. Item number 2 on the agenda this evening is a conditional use permit for an in-home daycare for up to 12 children in an RS 8.5 zoning district at 11396 West Sonata Court, a .23 acre parcel located for Jocelyn Muckingемbeho. I got it? No way.
You didn't say it quite right.
We know who you're talking about.
Muckingемbeho.
Hello, everyone.
Good evening.
My name is Jocelyn Mkinga.
Can you pull the mic down a little bit and speak right into it so we can hear you?
Thank
Yep,
you.
Yep,
I am very shy. I'm sorry.
that's okay.
My name is Jocelyn Mkinga. My address is 11396 West Sonata Court, Anampa. The zip code is 83651. My business name is JA Childcare. The reason why we here, it's because of me. When I was in Boise, I was working and paying my rent, including all bills, from 2016 to 2024. And then I moved here. I didn't go at work anymore because I didn't have someone who take care of my children. That is why me and my friend Angelique, we invited some people from our community, like in my country. The topic was about how can we resolve the question we had. because we were struggling with life. We didn't have something can help our family to be in a good life. From that day, I chose to open daycare, and I already started the daycare. Even I'm not getting paid because I was waiting you to be approved. Thank you. I wish everyone accept my request and give me a permission to do it. After that, I will help my community of Nampa and my family too. I appreciate everyone. God bless you and your family.
Thank you. Any questions for the applicant? Okay, we will call you back up if we have questions. Thank you.
Thank you.
Rodney?
All right, Mr. Chair and Commissioners, you've seen these before. You should be very familiar with these requests. This one's for up to 12 children in an RS 8.5 zone. You can see the location there on the screen near Lone Star Middle School. There we go. So staff's review of this based on the comprehensive plan, the code, and the specific language for home occupation daycare intended to keep it as a residential feel. We feel that it meets the criteria listed on the screen. The comprehensive plan shows this as medium density residential. The property is currently in the city and is zoned RS 8.5. And the surrounding land uses are primarily the single family and a little bit of ag land in the area as well. So here's a site plan they've provided. It was a little bit difficult for me to see, but it's not necessarily essential that we know what is in the home, just that it's going to meet the standards we require for fire and building safety. So I'm just going to kind of sneak through these pretty quickly. You've seen these. They do have to meet the requirements of the home occupation daycare. If they exceed those requirements, then we withdraw that conditional use permit, and they would have to find a new location. For instance, if they were above the 12 children, there's a lot of different codes related to that. It becomes a commercial daycare. So. Conditional use permit criteria, you've seen those. The building department, they just indicated the same thing that I just mentioned. If it goes above 12, it moves into a different category. And the fire district indicated they'll need a fire inspection form filled out and approved. Pretty standard stuff. They look for safety for the children. Nampa Engineering, they just, several years, I don't know how long it's been, maybe last year, we looked at the trip generation manual for traffic for these kinds of facilities, and there's nothing in the trip generation manual for a home occupation daycare. So we did the best we could, looked at it and said, I think we're going to be generating about 6 to 10 trips in these in-home daycare situations. We did receive a late public comment. I believe that's on your desk in front of you. And I didn't have a lot of time to go over everything, but I did just list the 3 things that I could pull from that. The lack of parking already. There's a concern that it's already overparked in the area. People parking in front of driveways, and then concerns about safety of children due to vehicles driving nearby. Purpose of the request, the applicant's requesting the home occupation daycare. The surrounding land uses are primarily residential dwelling units in the RS 8.5 district. Here are the proposed conditions. Those are in your packet. The proposed findings, and here are a couple of motions for your consideration. And I'd stand for questions if you have any.
Thank you. Any questions for Rodney?
I do. Rodney, do they have, like Southwest District Health, does the state have any inspection requirements for these in-home daycares, or do we know anything about that?
It's a good question. I don't think so. You guys know? I don't.
There's an organization called STARS that's run by the state, and they do have some requirements for daycares. I'm not sure what level of actual in-home inspections they do, but they rely on the fire department to make sure that they're meeting fire safety codes, and then they approve their state license that way.
Okay. I just wonder if, like, the agencies that we do notify when we have some of these, if the State Department wouldn't be one of those that we would want to notify just so that they know that it's happening. I don't know.
We work very closely with the STARS
Yeah.
organization, and every year we have to provide a letter back to STARS stating that all of these daycares that have been approved are still in compliance.
Thank you.
Okay, any other questions? All right, thanks. Go ahead and move on to public testimony for this application. Is there a sign-up sheet, Madam Clerk?
Mr. Chair, we have no one signed up to speak on this item.
Okay. Is there anybody here this evening that would like to speak for, against, or undecided on this application? Now is your time. Come on up.
Good evening, Mr. Chair. My name is Michael Jars. I live at 11424 West Sonata Court, just across the street from Jason, who submitted his comments. I have basically the same concerns as Mr. Flores with the increased traffic. There are a large number of cars coming in and out of that cul-de-sac every day. We are on the corner, so we see all the cars coming in and out. I also have concerns of the children. There are children in that neighborhood that are playing outside during the day. There's children under the ages of probably 5, 6 that are outside. They are supervised, but they're still out in the street. And another question is, our neighborhood has an HOA. I'm just wondering if the HOA has been contacted, if the HOA has approved this request.
We can ask, but we don't really meddle in homeowners association
Right, yeah,
issues.
I didn't assume so.
If there's something in your HOA that prevents businesses running from home, you'll have to address that with the HOA and the
With the
homeowner.
HOA, yes. So basically, just to reiterate, the same concerns of traffic, already a lot of cars parked in that neighborhood in the evenings. I understand it was scheduled to run from 6 a.m. to 6 p.m., and not sure the number of trips in and out, but what I saw earlier, 6, 10, whatever that guess, I would think that would be fairly low compared to what really could go on.
Okay,
So, thank you.
thank you. Is there anybody else here this evening that would like to speak for, against, or undecided on this application? Right. Any questions for the applicant? I have one, if you could come back up, please. Thank you. So just to confirm, on the letter you sent in, there was some handwriting below your paragraph that said hours were going to be 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, great. And then this conditional use permits for up to 12 children. How many do you think you're going to have at any time? Are you planning on maxing it out at 12, or are you going to do less than 12 kids, or what's your plan there?
Actually, I have 3 children, one going to school in the morning, and then I stay home with 2. I will just take 5 children, including mine, every 8 hours.
You said 5 children,
Yes, it's going to be 7.
in addition to your 2 that are at home? So
Yeah.
5 plus, so for 7 total
Yes,
to start. Okay,
yes.
great. Anybody else have questions?
Yeah, I do, actually, Mr. Chair. So does the 12 children, does that include their own?
2.
I mean, up to the 12 children for the daycare, does that include their own?
It does to an extent. There's an age limit. I can't remember the
Okay.
specifics, but there's an age limit. When they're older, they don't count.
Yeah.
But, yeah.
Is that
I
like?
said that to my kids before, too, and it doesn't resonate very. Okay, and then one quick question. Have you reached out, since the question came up in public hearing, but have you reached out to the HOA?
Because I did everything to be approved, and then because everyone who came to my home to do inspection, like a health and welfare came, a fire inspection, they did tell me anything about HA because they said I am approved. That's why I didn't ask HAM.
And that would be between you and the HOA anyway, so, but I just wanted to ask that since it was brought up.
But I have a other paper I already give it to planning and zoning from on my contract with them. They said it's good.
Okay.
Living on a cul-de-sac for over 20 years, I know how parking can be, especially if people start coming. So if it's approved, that's one thing you'll have to make sure of, that your people, when they're dropping kids off and picking them up, they're not parking in front of other people's driveways, because those cul-de-sacs get so crammed with, after a couple of cars are in them, that, you know, it makes it difficult. And that's where you're going to start running into problems with your neighbors, is if they can't get in or out of their driveways while people are dropping off kids or picking them up. So just, if it's approved, just make sure you explain to your people that when they're dropping them off, do not park in front of somebody's driveway.
Yeah, in this time I can say sorry to Grandpa because I was using the small car because I was not getting paid to have a big car, which means when I get this kind of job, I will found the big car. It's not gonna be traffic anymore, I promise.
That'd be my only concern with living in a cul-de-sac. I know how crowded they can get.
Yep. Okay. Any other questions? All right. Thank you for coming back up.
Thank you.
Make a motion, we close the public hearing.
Second.
We have a motion from Gardner to close the public hearing and a second by Kirkman. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? All right, that motion carries. Public hearing is closed. What do you think?
Mr. Chair, I'll make a motion, if there's no further comment or questions, to approve the conditional use permit for an in-home daycare for up to 12 children in a RS 8.5 zoning district at 11396 West Sonata Court for Jocelyn Mukangambeho, and adopt the proposed findings and conditions listed in the staff report.
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Kirkman and a second by Gardner to approve this conditional use permit. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, that motion carries. CUP is approved. And this CUP will become effective 15 calendar days from the date of this hearing unless an appeal has been filed with the Planning and Zoning Department with the appropriate fee. No action should be taken on the CUP until the appeal period has concluded and the applicant has confirmed with Planning and Zoning staff there have been no appeals. Thank you very much for coming this evening. And moving right along, next item on the agenda is an annexation and zoning to RD potential development agreement and subdivision short plat approval for Cornerstone subdivision at 1500 West Orchard Avenue. A 1.23 acre parcel for William Mason Associates, representing Jose Hernandez, for an original concept of 5 buildable lots for 2 family attached dwelling units and 2 common lots.
Mr. Chair, I don't think we got the appropriate picture for this one.
Nope.
Sure, that looks like.
Oh, yeah, I think it is. Is that right?
No, that's not it.
Let's just go with it. We're good.
That's better.
Good evening. My name is William Mason with Mason and Associates. Our address is 924 3rd Street here in Nampa. Tonight we're asking for an annexation and a zone of RD for a 1.23 acre enclaved infill project. The intent would be to subdivide it into 5 buildable lots. The project is also a short plat, so we're asking for the annexation zone and a short plat approval. And with that, I'll, I guess, stand for any questions. We have no concerns with the staff's recommended conditions.
Okay, any questions for the applicant? I don't think we have any at this time. We'll call you back up if we do. Thank you. Staff report, Rodney.
All right, Mr. Chair and Commissioners, here is the vicinity map. Sorry about that, the wrong one there. You can see just west of Midland Boulevard on Orchard Avenue. And I can go back to that if you need, but I'll jump to here. Based upon the analysis that was completed utilizing the conclusions of law, Nampa Comprehensive Plan, and the Nampa City Code, coupled with the findings and conditions listed in the staff report, the project appears to meet all requirements, and staff can reasonably recommend to the Commission that the project be approved. So here's the comprehensive plan, future land use map. It's medium density. It is currently in the county, but to the north and to the south are RS6 zoned properties in 2 different subdivisions. To the east and to the west is the county R1 zoned detached homes. And then just a little bit farther to the east is 260 feet to the east is the RD zoning district in the Jack's Orchard Park subdivision, and it's a mix of single-family, duplex, and triplex developments. So it did seem to fit that area based on that, the RD zoning. History, April 2023 was a pre-app meeting for 11 duplexes. That means 22 units. And then September, they reduced that of 2023. They reduced it down to 5 duplexes and 10 units total. City services are available to the property. There's a little closer view of that and the utilities. Here's some elevations that they provided. How they might look. Annexation is described in state code, how that needs to happen, and staff found that it met those 3 criteria. Here's the criteria for zoning, and again, just a reminder, the proposed map amendments would be in harmony with the city's currently adopted comprehensive plan and the map. The proposed map amendment would provide for proposed use or set of uses that would be at least reasonably compatible with existing and adjoining property uses. And then the proposed map amendment would be in the interest of the public and reasonably necessary. So that's what I used to evaluate this. So for the plat, first the RD zoning, there's the purpose and description for the RD zoning, and then the spatial and bulk requirements listed on the right. Pretty standard. Density requirements in the medium density residential district or designation on the comp plan, so that's 2.51 to 8 dwelling units per acre. And then the lot sizes are 6,000 to 12,000 square feet. Subdivision policies and short plat descriptions of what needs to be done for a short plat to occur. This meets that description there. We did receive comments from engineering primarily about the plat. I also wanted to just highlight the number of parking spaces required. This isn't, they haven't, this will be evaluated during the permit stage, so building permits as they're pulled, but it looks to exceed this pretty significantly with garages, and it looked like it was 2-car garages and 2-car driveways, and so I think we're going to be plenty fine. Nampa code compliance listed the property currently has weeds and debris throughout the property, and so that will need to be taken care of before the annexation can be completed. And then the engineering division conditions, Nampa Fire District said that it's 1.6 miles from Nampa Fire Station 4 with an approximate response time of 4 minutes. Their goal is 5 minutes and 20 seconds. And then talked about the impact to the need for firefighters, and that would be 0.03 firefighter positions. Police, really similar, 0.03 additional officers are needed with 0.02 additional support staff. Building comments are pretty standard here, just they need to meet code. This is an enclave property that is in an area that has developed into the city with the exception of a few single-family enclave county parcels. Our comprehensive plan really encourages us to do infill, and that would fit here. And again, just wanted to highlight that the medium-density residential district or designation in the comp plan identifies duplexes as an intended use. So here's some of the staff analysis of the plat. It meets each of these criteria for lot sizes, and the qualified open space, a short plat isn't required to provide open space. So you don't see that there. That was the preliminary, and here's the final plat with the lot sizes listed. They did provide a landscape plan, but again, it was not required, and that's what you're seeing here with that frontage landscaping required. Here's the proposed conditions of approval, proposed findings with each of my conclusions I'm recommending, and then just the short plat finding that it did meet city codes. And here's a couple of motions for your consideration, and I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. Any questions for Rodney? All right, seeing none, we'll move on to public testimony. Madam Clerk, do we have anybody signed up for this one?
Mr. Chair, we have one person signed up to speak on this item, and that is Mr. Dave Darr.
Mr. Darr, if you're here this evening, come on up, state your name and address, and tell us what's on your mind.
1621 West Orchard. And we are against this because there is a lot of traffic already on Orchard. Karcher is overloaded, and they're moving more and more traffic to Orchard, and Orchard is not capable of handling extra traffic. And also, it's a multi-family or multi-family unit that they're putting in there, multi-family units, I should say, and we don't have any of those around. So we're kind of concerned about the overloading of the traffic some more.
Okay.
Okay?
All right. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you.
I heard only one name on the sign-up sheet, so I'll go ahead and ask if there's anybody here this evening that would like to speak for, against, or undecided on this application. All right. Mr. Mason, do you have anything to add or closing remarks?
Again,
talk about traffic.
William Mason with Mason and Associates, 924 3rd Street South in Nampa. The only thing I can add is that we will be doing the very short frontage improvements on Orchard. At least we'll get started on widening that road. I know there's a lot of road over there that needs to be widened, but we're doing as much as we physically can on our frontage. So,
Okay. All right, any follow-up questions for the applicant? All right, thank you. Entertain a motion to close the public hearing.
Second.
Motion by Miller to close the public hearing and a second by Kehoe. All those in favor to close the public hearing, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay, public hearing is closed.
You know, Mr. Chair, so in response to the gentleman's concern about multifamily housing in that area, I think at the corner of Orchard and Midland, there's quite a few multifamily housing.
And then
Plus a little bit more west, there's another.
Yeah, there's quite a bit.
Yeah, so between this site and the intersection, there's quite a bit of multifamily
A lot right across Orchard is a cul-de-sac with duplexes on it.
Yeah, duplex.
housing. I get what he's saying, I totally understand that, but, so and with that comment, I'd say this will fit right in.
Yeah.
And I really did like those elevations, I think those are
Yeah, they look like
nice.
And like Will said, they're doing their part to widen and to take care of, sidewalk, cutter curb, whatever.
I agree.
Chair, I'll go ahead and make the motion. I move to approve the annexation and zoning to RD and subdivision short plat approval for Cornerstone subdivision at 1500 West Orchard Avenue for William Mason and Associates representing Jose Hernandez, and adopt the proposed findings in the staff report.
Second.
A motion by Miller and a second by Daffer to approve the annexation zoning and subdivision short plat for this item. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? All right, motion carries. Thank you. All right, the last item on the agenda this evening is a subdivision preliminary plat approval for Silverland Park subdivision in a GB1 zoning district totaling 49.6 acres at 0 North Star Road for Mike Huter for the original concept of commercial development with 18 buildable lots. Come on up, state your name and address, and tell us about the project.
Thank you, Chairman. Commissioners, my name is Connor Lindstrom with KM Engineering, 5725 North Discovery Way, Boise, Idaho, 83713. I'm representing Mr. Huter as the property owner. I work with KM Engineering, who's the civil engineering firm on this. So you'll see here, this is just a general aerial shot from Google Maps. The property that we're going to be discussing tonight, it's a request for a preliminary plat for a subdivision called Silverland Park subdivision within the city. Here is just a vicinity map. So this property is directly south of the Amazon Fulfillment Center. Can't miss it as you're driving down the freeway. So this is the field between the freeway and the Amazon Center there. Then we're west of Star Road and east of the Subaru dealer. Next here is the zoning map. So this property is zoned as Gateway Business, or GB1. It's a 49.6 acre piece of property. It's a prime location for a commercial development. This subdivision that's proposed, it's an 18-lot subdivision, and it's going to be geared strictly towards commercial uses. Really the point of this is to entitle the property and then for the lots to be sold off to any kind of commercial user that would fit within the zone. They'd have to obviously get building permits or go through, additional entitlements as needed, but and generally have 18 lots ranging from 2.56 acres on up to 4.58 acres. And there's a private road that'll run through the site. It'll come from Star Road on the east, go through and back up to Franklin through the Amazon property. There will be a shared access
easement there. As I move along, we have no concerns with the staff report and the findings of fact, except for this one specifically. Condition number 1, there is bullet number 2, and I'm sure Christy will go into this a little more too. There's a berm that is required for landscaping along Star Road because it's an arterial roadway. They're looking for a 20-foot wide berm. This is, so the image on the right is that Star Road section. That's from our landscape plan. It shows what the property line, where that would be on the west or the left there. Then you'd have your berm, and then you would have edge of pavement, and then the road itself. You can also see what the freeway landscape buffer will look like. But as far as the length of the berm goes, that's where we have some concern there. So what we're showing on our landscape plan, this is what was submitted as part of our application. It's 150 feet in length. It'll run from the private road there going south down to where the Star Road overpass goes up and over the freeway. This is what was submitted, and then that condition was added after the fact. However, we had some previous conversations back before we submitted, or along the timeline of when we submitted earlier this year. I think it was in February. We spoke with staff, and there was a staff member that was amendable to allowing us to only have that berm along that portion of the frontage because of that overpasses there. It just doesn't really make a lot of sense to have a berm up against the grade, the slope, because you're screening something that doesn't need to be screened. It just didn't really add up for us. And I think in talking with Christy today, we sent over that email. We found it from February. And so I think they're amendable to changing that condition, but I'll let her address that a little more. So that's the only condition that we really would like to see changed. Other than that, we're on board with everything else, and I can stand for any questions that you folks have.
What would you think about building like a 65-foot berm?
Yeah. Well,
There's a pretty big berm there already.
yeah, you'd have to ask the property owner on that one. I'm not going to agree to that.
Mr. Chair, I do have a question. So I know that this is going to build out whenever it builds out, but what is your vision or the property owner's vision for what this might look like? Is it something that maybe 10 Mile in the freeway is looking like where Shields is, or further down on Eagle, or is this? And the reason I ask that is we have a lot of warehouses, and I know this is not industrial, but just kind of, if you have kind of an idea of what your vision might be.
Yeah, Commissioner Kirkman, great question. In speaking with the property owner, he's been in contact with multiple different users. And there are the options for a multitude of different uses, hotels, additional car dealerships like you see there. Yeah. So I know that's not the most exciting thing you're looking for, but the way we design this site here is for, especially on the west there, you have 4 lots with a shared driveway coming in. That is quite a larger chunk of property that could be used for a larger user. So that's left there for that. Then you have your smaller lots along the north that could be used for smaller users. I'm not going to make up who it could be, but that was the way that this was laid out to allow for a kind of a multitude of different users.
Okay, good.
But I can't speak to
No,
exactly
that helps a lot, is just kind of seeing what this property might develop into, because, again, there's a lot of low, sorry, Commissioner, but there's a lot, or Chair, there's a lot of low, massive warehouses out in that area, so.
And given that you have this frontage along the freeway, this is a very prime location for commercial users, so I would guess that you're going to see a lot of service industry uses, hotels that want to be here, right next to the Idaho Center too. It's a prime location. So, if I had to guess, would probably be a lot more of that kind of use than your warehouses and so forth.
Well, excited to see how it develops.
Yeah.
If approved.
Easy there.
Any other questions for the applicant? All right, thank you. We'll call you back up.
Okay, thank you.
Do we have any? Christy, staff report.
Hey, thank you, Mr. Chairman and Commission. Christy Watkins, Principal Planner for the City of Nampa. You heard the request tonight. It's for an 18-lot commercial subdivision. I envision this very similar to the Empire Business Park that's over on the other side of Idaho Center Boulevard behind the auto dealerships. Those buildings are also in the GB1 zoning district, and they are subject to all of our design review requirements. Most of those buildings have been built out very nicely. They have a lot of design elements to them. And I would like to see those same things happen in this area in front of Amazon to kind of screen that building from the interstate. So that's my vision for it, and I feel like maybe
A second.
maybe this is going to make that work. But so as stated, the zoning of this property is gateway business, GB1. It was annexed into the city as IL and AG in 1996. In February of 2003, it was rezoned to GB1, and we have had multiple projects proposed on it, and none have moved forward. So it's good to see something moving forward on it. There are utilities available. The traffic impact study is under review. Final design shall comply with the comments in the TIS. The TIS has identified the following triggered impacts. Stam Lane and Robinson Road will require an eastbound left turn lane. Idaho Center Boulevard and Franklin Road will require reconfiguration of the intersection. Star Road and the site access, which is the circle to the east. Southbound right turn lane, northbound left turn lane, and 2 eastbound lanes. The circle on the west side is just showing how they will access through the Amazon property. They do have an easement for that. Correspondence that was received from the building department, standard Title IV comments, fire district. Let's see. Project is located 2.4 miles from fire station number 5 with a response time of 5 minutes. Engineering listed utility and right-of-way improvements, traffic impact study review, and other conditions of approval. GIS has just requested some minor revisions to some street names. So this property, 49.6 acres, 18 lots, no open space required in a commercial subdivision. Parking will be determined based on the intended uses at the time of the building permit. Property lot depth and coverage is not applicable in the GB1 zoning district, and all buildings will be subject to design review. This is where we were talking about that landscaping and berming. I did talk to Doug Critchfield, who is our landscape architect on staff, and he says that due to the slope of Star Road, staff will continue to work with the applicant for a suitable solution to the landscaping in that area. Obviously, trying to put turf and stuff like that up a slope doesn't work, and then having a berm at the bottom of a slope maybe isn't the best idea either. They've got a lot of things going on Star Road on that side. They have a power easement, they have an irrigation easement, they have a drainage facility, they have all kinds of things that could limit the amount of space that needs to be used for the landscaping. So Doug is willing to work with them on the design for that. So this condition shows just retain the landscaping as shown on the landscape plan and work with staff to determine suitable landscaping along the additional area of Star Road, as well as the other conditions that were listed in your staff report. And these are your potential motions. I'll stand for any questions.
Is there a table of approved uses in a GB1 zone somewhere?
In Chapter 3, we do have, of course, all of the uses that are allowed or not allowed, and then also on our website, we have lists of uses that are permitted and conditionally permitted. There are some outside of the industrial zoning, like, the manufacturing and stuff like the heavier manufacturing, but as with Amazon, it's a warehouse, so warehousing is still allowed.
Is there a conditional use permit required for warehousing?
Amazon got a conditional use permit, yes.
Okay. So it's a conditional use in a
Yeah.
GB1? Okay. I didn't review it. Okay. That's it. Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Any other questions?
Yeah, I do have a quick question.
Do it.
The 150 feet of berm that the applicant would like to keep rather than going all the way, you mentioned that you would work with them on the rest of that. So my only concern with that is, what happens if that doesn't come to an amicable solution, working with the city and the applicant, and then the city, for example, says, no, we really want you to go the extra all the way up the side of Star Road? I mean, at that point, do they come back to us for an exception, or?
Commissioner Kirkman, the staff does have some discretion to determine based on topology of a property. If for some reason they can't come to a suitable solution for that, they could request a variance from city council.
Okay, thank you.
All right. There are no more questions. We'll move on to public testimony. Madam Clerk, do we have anybody on the sign-up sheet this evening?
Mr. Chair, we have no one pre-signed up to speak on this item.
Is there anybody here that would like to speak for, against, or undecided on the application? All right. Any other questions for the applicant, or do you have anything else to add?
He didn't say I knew it when he.
Because he's got to have the opportunity. I have to ask that question, or the attorney will yell at me.
Thank you, Chairman. Connor Lindstrom here again. Nothing else to add. I appreciate Christie's presentation. Back to your question and concern. We did submit a landscape plan as part of the application, and it did not include the berm. We're hopeful that that would just be allowed, but if we do need to continue to massage things, we will work with staff and make sure that that's taken care of. So I hope that answers your question. As for anything else, I can't think of much. I think the design review for each of those buildings that'll have to be done will be really important. They'll have to meet, sign codes, things like that. So it will have to be a presentable piece along I-84 there. With that, I have nothing else to add. So we appreciate your time. Thank you.
Thank you. Entertain a motion to close the public hearing.
Moved. Second.
Motion by Commissioner Kehoe and a second by Miller to close the public hearing for this item. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Public hearing's closed.
Any discussion? I like it.
It's a great piece of land. Looks like good rectangles.
Yep, good rectangle.
We got enough of them, they can move them around if they need to.
Different sizes for different.
Lots of things you can put inside them.
Okay, Mr. Chair, I'll go ahead and move to approve the subdivision preliminary plat approval for Cyril and Park subdivision in a GB1 zoning district at Zero Star Road for Mike Huter, with all conditions listed in the staff report, and to adopt the proposed findings of approval as stated in the staff report.
Second.
We have a motion for Miller and a second by Gardner to approve this preliminary plat. All those in favor say aye.
Quick question on the motion. Do we need to have that discussion with staff or on the berm, or is that just assumed?
It's already changed,
Got it.
so if you guys are approving it, it's as changed.
Got it.
Okay, we have a motion on the table and a second. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries.
Peggy?
It's approved. I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
I make,
Motion by Commissioner Kehoe and a second by Commissioner Selman to adjourn the meeting. All those in favor say aye.
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 Your Christmas gift.
We're adjourned.